Phil, SCGCON Baltimore in the bag, and we have a finish that I think we can be pretty proud of, honestly, for the podcast.
I would say so for our first, well, not your first event, but my first event. And we both got into the prizing,
Cashed, as it were. Yeah.
cashed as it was.
I think that's a point I want to bring up in a bit about what cashed means in this game for sure. But I believe, if I was counting properly, you played your 15th game of Sorcery ever in the final round of the event. So that was a 7-round event. You had played 8 games before that event, and you came in 12th place.
Yeah, I took 12th overall. Now, there's a slight caveat to that, a slight asterisk. Regardless, the fact that I had a not losing record in my first event was pretty awesome. So I ended up, I played what I didn't know at the time was the arch villain of the game so far, apparently. But I guess that also is skewing a little bit. I played Archimago with a list that Zac handed me with a couple of changes. I played what you handed me, a stock version from like a couple months ago that had like
yeah. I think when we talked about this, like I was like, you're going to come to this event. I'll build you the deck, and then you just have to get, like, I think I was like, get Black Plague, get Morgana, and get, or maybe it wasn't Morgana, it was something else, and get Ring.
You told me to get both plagues, the plague for
Great Famine and Black Plague.
Great Famine and Plague, and then you told me to get a ring.
Yeah. So I was like, some investment on your end, but literally here's the rest of, like, $200-ish of a deck. And from there, we'll figure it out. I'm sure I'll get time to teach you once we do it. So I physically handed you the deck at Eternal Weekend 2 weeks ago. So you had a chance to look through it. And I taught you the very basics of the game at LobsterCon. Like, I gave you like one quick run through.
Literally one game that I didn't fully grasp. Throughout the event in Baltimore, I was still like asking my opponents, like, is this a legal play? Can I do this thing? Like, if I do this, is that correct? Like, and fortunately, everybody was super nice and showed me plenty of patience along the way. And the only changes that I made to your list, you handed me a list with like a bunch of Dapper vampires in them. And when we play tested the night before the event at our Airbnb, what I found was I just never really wanted to draw creatures that weren't developing 2-drops. And so I ended up cutting the Dapper vampires for land surveyors just to draw a card early to continue developing. Because I found that with Archimago, the math worked out that every spell you draw is 1 1/3 card. So if every card that you don't draw, like every card that you draw that's not a spell, is you depriving yourself of 1/3 of a card. And so I said, why would I ever do that?
Yeah, why would I not draw? Yeah, because you want to be able to exile the 3 of them, and one of them you get to cast, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, and that makes sense. So you basically just wanted to make sure that you were never drawing sites.
I wanted to draw fewer sites because I wanted to be able to develop early. That way I could just continue like out carding my opponent. Once I like understood that was the mechanic of Archimago. And the offset of that is, if I'm playing a minion, I want that minion to draw a card to make up for the fact that it's not the additional 1 1/3 card. So Land Surveyor drawing a site, it's like, that's reasonable. The Leprechaun drawing a site when it dies, that's reasonable. As opposed to the lifelinker that has 4 power that doesn't actually do anything other than attack and block, and doesn't otherwise help me with anything else that I'm trying to do.
It's just attack and block.
Yeah. I'm not interested in attacking and blocking. The goal of the deck was to just nuke you.
Yeah. I would say we should like really dive into our event. But honestly, I think we had the episode with Julian, the fellow who won the event. I think getting our like round by round, like blow by blow, is probably not as useful as just kind of like talking over the event and like what like our impressions of the first time at like a Crossroads event. And like I won a Cornerstone, so I had pretty high hopes for myself. I came in 42nd, 4-3. I went up against some real murderers, and I got very lucky in some games where like my opponent just won one game against a guy. Now I'm forgetting the name. Where he just could not draw an Earthsight, and we were like 10 turns in, and I was playing Enchantress, and I was just attacking with a silence, and I got there with a silence like over the course of like 8 turns. It's pretty sad. But the people we played, like at least that I played, were super amazing, like really accommodating, fun conversation all the way through. The Eric's Curiosa staff was amazing, awesome. Just like everybody there was there to like support the game. You know, they came over and expressed their appreciation to us for like making content stuff, which just goes such a long way with me. Like, you know, I think in the 10 or 15 years I've been making Magic content, I don't think anyone from WotC has ever come up and been like, "Hey, thank you." You know, like that's, you know, so you know, just getting that like small amount of recognition was really cool. Hopefully they'll reach out to us to do some stuff for Gothic and stuff. That'd be really cool.
That would be sweet. Yeah, the vibes were immaculate all event.
Yeah, it's just absolutely like it felt like, you know, what we say about LobsterCon when we go to LobsterCon for a pre-modern event, like where everyone's just there to have a good time and play the game, play it as best you can, but no one's like edge casing anybody or like it just feels like you're at a Magic event where people want to play a game. They want to do good too, you know, but the idea is like we're playing a game here. You know, you want to be the best because your opponent played all their cards correctly, as opposed to like you were the best because your opponent missed a trigger or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I found like going through the motions of essentially like all of the games that I played, I was learning a ton each round and how important the positional gameplay is and how that differs from Magic. So like I really got a deep dive on that, like being able to play against different opponents. And I realized as I was going through that I sort of intuition wise picked up enough that I was like, oh, I actually have good matchups that I'm already aware of, despite it only being a handful of rounds. And then I also recognized matchups where I like didn't have a good matchup. And it was very apparent to me, but it was the way that worked though wasn't like, oh, my cards are good or bad versus their cards, which are good or bad. It was the positional gameplay of this matchup is such that if I take these actions and my opponent doesn't defend it, then I will have the upper hand. And then there was matchups where I didn't understand the positional gameplay of how the avatars line up against each other. And so because of that, my opponent just like pounced on it and was able to like, you know, really constrain what I was able to do. And I noticed how important being able to control certain parts of the board were against different avatars. And that's the part that I'm like very excited to continue learning, because that's like where the most growth potential I think is. So like I went undefeated against Pathfinder, and then I got bodied by an Avatar of Air opponent because I just was not able to fully
Joey,
calibrate.
man, he got me, you, and Harry. Just
I was
knocked
not
down
able
the whole team.
I wasn't able to figure out what all of the movement meant, having no reps against it. And so I just didn't even know how to preemptively defend against how the movement would happen. And that to me struck me as like, oh, I just need some reps. Like once I understand how like what the most effective aggressive lines are, then I'll be able to defend them. And then shout out to my last opponent, my last round, his name was Sam. He was also on Avatar of Air. We ended up going to what would have been a draw. And a draw in Sorcery, which I appreciate, is worth 0 points.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's how it should be.
That's how it should be, because it means that there are no intentional draws at the end of an event, which is great. So we would have gone to a draw right before, like, as I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to, you know, kill you in time. Like the board was relatively still like up for grabs. Like who knew who was actually going to take it if there was infinite time. But before I could say anything, he was like, good game, man. I'm going to concede. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was going to concede because he clearly knew what he was doing. Like he was proficient with his plays. He was fast moving. He was playing at an exceptionally reasonable pace. And because I didn't understand and was still learning the game, even though it was the last round, there was against Air, I was like, there's so much play that I don't understand that I'm trying to think ahead of what could happen. And so I'm calculating a bunch of lines of what could happen. And then on his turn, he would just quickly do something that was not even in any of my calibrations at all. And so I'm like, oh man, like I just spent that time calculating these lines. He did something entirely different. Now I got to calculate again off of these lines. And so I was spent after that round. But what I know for sure is that I took up more clock than he did. So I was like, I should concede to you. And he's like, no, man, that was a great game. I'm happy that you're part of the game. Like, I'm going to concede. And I was like, I feel like I should concede, man. I took more of the game time. And then before anything could happen, he like plugged in the result to give me the win. So that's what I mean by my asterisk. Technically, I went 4-4-1, but I'm sorry, 4-2-1. But because he gave me the win, I ended up 5-2, and that put me into 12th place. But a representative of what that was sort of like the embodiment of what it felt like the entire community was all weekend. Like, I'm new to the game. I'm expressing that I'm new to the game and hoping that people can, you know, be patient with me as I like learn this stuff because it's really fun. And everybody was wonderfully accommodating. It was just like such a blessing to like have such quality opponents all throughout the weekend and everybody around. And then even outside of the match too, like we would go and I wanted to get a swap, but we didn't have enough cards. And so a guy named Mitch just handed me a card to be like, yeah, man, get your swap. Awesome stuff. And so I ended up signing his name on the card swap because that was the story of the card when we, you know, ended up doing the swap. So that was cool. I like can confirm that everything about the event was awesome. I cannot wait to go again, and I'm so happy that you got me into Sorcery because it is a breath of fresh air.
I knew as soon as you got to see this event, see the people playing, play the game yourself, you're gonna take to this. Like I could just tell, like, this is the kind of game, this is the kind of Magic that I think a lot of people want to be playing. And we can talk about the unforced errors of Wizards of the Coast and stuff like that. But I think more importantly is, because this game is so new, I want to talk a little bit about the value of this convention. If you're a Magic player and you're watching this right now and you're thinking about Sorcery, I want to make this part abundantly clear to you. So we went there, and so there's this product called Dragonlord. Dragonlord retails for $70 about, but if you or maybe it's $60, but it was impossible to find. Everyone was sold out, that whole thing. They allowed you to buy one copy of Dragonlord each day at the con for MSRP. Now, if you tried to buy it from your local or some other place or eBay, it could be upwards of $200 to $300. So being able to just get that by itself, there's value there, right? Now I have something that I was looking for. I would have spent $300 for, but now I got it for retail. Amazing, which is super cool. And you can get several a day. So either you can have duplicates, maybe you're going to flip them. That could happen, right? Or maybe you're going to take it to your local, like I'm going to do. We're going to give 2 away for the show. When we hit 500, we're giving 1 away. And when we hit 1,000, Phil's going to ship his extra out. And then I'm giving a pair to my local, because they were good enough to reserve one for me at MSRP, and I wanted to return the favor and have them use that to support the games. So right there, you have that amount of value. Whatever, let's call that $200 worth of value. Let's say, right? If you just went every day and bought a Dragonlord every day, your allotment of 1, you gained some amount just on either trading those cards or selling those cards or keeping a copy for yourself. And each day you could trade for a promo called swap. And the whole idea with that was you would take one of your cards and you would tell them a story behind why you're trading this card in, and they would give you a promo that's worth about $100. So, I mean, think about Magic the Gathering. Like, you go to an event, you spend $50 on an event, and they're like, cool. And then you go 0-4, or like you go 5-4 or whatever, and they're like, thanks for playing. Later. Get out of here. There's no value to be gained after you do the tournament. But between the 2 swaps that I picked up, the Dragonlord that I picked up, I got top 42, so I got a Disenchant promo that's worth like $50. And they gave out a ton. We were sitting there for an extra 5 minutes at the end of the tournament while they were just doing giveaways for people that were in the tournament. At any point in the tournament, someone at any spot could be like, oh, you're getting this, you're getting that, you're getting that, giving away all sorts of stuff. So like the just immense amount of value. We spent $35 on the tournament. They handed you basically 3 $100 cards. They gave you the opportunity to purchase something that's going for $300 for $60, or maybe it's $200 for $60. Still an immense amount of value there. And I think if you're a Magic player, there's value in that, knowing that, like, oh, I can go to an event and like get these promos and stuff, and then I can trade them for other cards. I can sell them on eBay, like whatever you're going to do with them, right? But you're gaining some amount of value that you can trade into the game, get more cards, that sort of thing. So to me, it's kind of amazing that like just something so little is like, hey, we're just going to make sure everyone gets these cool promos. And even the great thing is those cards swap are going to be in Gothic. But from what I've seen, the price of all the promotional cards maintains. So even though you're going to be able to get your swaps in the new set that comes out on December 5th, you still get to keep the value of the other swaps. Like, maybe you use those to trade to get other stuff, So I think that's pretty amazing. Like, just that small level of support, and it's huge to me. But like, I bet it doesn't take much to print some cards. You're printing them anyhow, right? And then like, hey, we're just going to hold some back for the people playing the game for Dragonlord, right? Like, it's a 13 card set for the folks that want to play the game, to come out and support the game. We're going to make sure that you can get your hands on this product. I love that, Phil.
And what's great about that product in particular is one thing that they do that I really appreciate. So there's a lot of things that Sorcery has found that sort of solve some problems that Magic didn't know at the time when it was first done, which is I think the ordinary, exceptional, elite, unique
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
priority of like essentially, if you're ordinary, for people who don't know, ordinary you can play a 4 of, elite you can play exceptional you can play a 3 of, elite you can play a 2 of, and unique you can only play a 1 of.
So rare, one mythic, 2 rares, 3 uncommons, 4 commons.
Yeah, that's the progression of what you're allowed to do. So if there's a card that's unique, they can then print a design knowing that you only get to play one of it in your list. And that like opens up a bunch of space, and it also makes the game wholly replayable, like way more so than like we talked about a couple of times as power creep is moved into Magic. Like, oh, what would the game look like if they just dropped everything from 4 ofs to 3 ofs? That way it wasn't like continuously a lot of the same play patterns, especially as they remove mana as a means to balance their game. But the combination of positional play and the common through mythic or ordinary through unique number restriction on each card makes it so that like there's so much texture and dynamicism to every game, and those are things that I like just recognized almost immediately during gameplay, which I really appreciate. The other thing on the value side of it, the promo that they gave us just for entering the event was a foil lone tower, which is just typically a one of in most.
I forgot about the lone tower.
That foil lone tower, I didn't know what they were handing. Like, oh, cool, sweet promos in this game. Like, it felt like old GPs where they would hand out like Stoneforge Mystics or whatever.
Sure.
Back when Stoneforge Mystic had like a ton of value. And then I go online and I look at like what the foil lone tower promo is going for, and it's moving for a couple $100.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
so everyone just immediately, if you didn't even do any of the trading, any of the playing the tournament out, the whole thing, they were like, hey, thanks for paying $35 to play this game. Here's $100 promo, right?
Yeah.
$200 promo.
Even more. It's like you just like immediately, hextuple your entry.
Amazing.
If you were to just turn around and sell the card for what people online are just offering for it. You wouldn't even need to be like, I'm trying to move this. Like, people are just offering hundreds of dollars for the promos because the collectability of the game this early on is still like booning. And I think that the actual value, so that's all the financial value. I think talking to the guys working the event, the thing that stood out to me the most as I was in conversation with them, and they were in conversations with others while we were in like a group all chatting together, the one thing I really appreciated was how acutely aware the guys that were running the event were with themselves and the people who apparently are designing the game, the cultural aspect of what they want to maintain the experience to be was just at the forefront of everything that they were talking about, to the point where they just voiced, we really care about maintaining the culture of this game that is essentially everything that WotC let go by cash grabbing. And so going from like losing faith in we're just, moving over to Commander and all of the product for cash grabbing, to a game that's like, no, we really want to make this game something that players can appreciate, that's for the players, that we like want to not only maintain but foster and grow, was so refreshing to hear. Essentially, it wasn't like, it felt like the people who were working on the game, at least at that event, were not using us as like a resource to funnel money into their pockets. They were like, no,
you didn't feel like a number either, like you didn't feel like you were just like something to make the shareholders happy, right? Like,
so not only did I enjoy the gameplay and enjoy the community, I also enjoyed the people that were like operating the game and like enjoying like their conversations about the game and like what it can do. So like suddenly after one event, feel like I am part of this culture that I like really resonate with. And it was refreshing because it really did feel like, early Magic, even when I got into Magic, which was later than you did.
Yeah. And what's cool too is that there's really something for everyone at these cons and in the game. If you're a signature hound, they had a ton of the artists there doing signatures. If you're trying to get like some something altered or something, I'm pretty sure the artists were there. Like I definitely saw Jeff Labenstein like altar of Grievous Insult that somebody got done.
Dude, the Grievous Insult is a card that I've been like racking my brain around recently. It's really good.
Of course it is. And then if you're a collector, tons of stuff to collect there, right? Like all the promos and all that stuff. Like there's tons of the collecting to be done. If you're a player, if you're a grinder, like that's it. This is it. This is a game to play. You're basically playing like a solid game of chess against somebody, and you really get like a real feel for what it must have been like to play like chess in the 70s, like chess in the 60s or something like that, where like it's like everyone sits down, plays their match, like there's relative camaraderie in the room, like everyone seems like they're having a great time. There were young players, there were people as old as I am, like that was awesome too. There were a mix of sexes as well, like there were guys playing, there were girls playing, that was to me like that's a sign of a healthy game when you have all of the possible demographics of types of collector player, that sort of thing represented, and then you have all the genders, you get like a little bit of everything. Everyone seems like they really resonate with this game, and it feels like I said, it feels like the vibe there is how I felt about Magic the Gathering in 1995 when I started. I was like, this, you get to discover stuff. Like that's to me like one of the coolest parts. Like Gothic's about to come out in what, like a month, right? And they don't have like a spoiler page or anything like that. You just kind of have to pay attention and discover these cards as they come out. I really love that. Even today, Phil, I was like, oh crap, like I'm looking through the deck list and I'm like, Shapeshift is a card I really wasn't paying attention to, and I don't own any. I should pick some of those up, As different strategies and stuff evolve in this game, you get this idea of, oh, like that was an underrepresented card or strategy that like I should pick up. It's cheap right now. Like Shapeshifts are 50 cents. I'm gonna pick a couple up, One of the cards, like we spent the entire ride home on the way back, Harry and I, talking about a build around with Witch.
Jank ideas I was sending you?
Well,
Is that
all the jank ideas you were sending us, but then on top of that, we were talking about like Harry sent that what was it, Maddening Bells with Far East Assassin, where he's like, you throw the bells at your opponent. That's so awesome,
dude. We were both so Harry and I were on the same page of throwing things at our opponents, just in different ways. Because he wanted to throw Maddening Bells, and I was like, I'm gonna have Peleus throw the spear that domes them for whatever, and then he's just going to swim over through the body of water to pick it back up to throw it again next turn. So we were both in that space. And, when I realized it wasn't until after, don't get me wrong, like I learned a ton from playtesting with you guys before the event, learned a shit ton during the event. And then post-event, after when we were just playing some casual games and I was trying out some other avatars that I hadn't yet played, I'm playing against Harry, and I was playing Battlemage. And I, did one game, got absolutely destroyed, not understanding what it is. We talked about like, oh, maybe you're supposed to do this instead to like really leverage what Battlemage is trying to do, which is like just be way more aggressive. Like you're not really trying to develop, you're just trying to get in there. And I was like, okay, let's like do that. And then there was one turn where he put I guess it was the Gnome Hollows. Is that what it's called? When
Gnome Hollows, yeah.
Through your girder power can't move on top of it or whatever. And I was like, okay, well that's really good against Battlemage. And he was like, yeah, it's really good against Battlemage. And then I'm looking at this card shrink.
Yeah, you shrunk your Battlemage, right?
So we shrunk the Battlemage to go through the gnome hollows, and then I just ended up doing so much damage to myself that I was like on death's door pretty fast, and also right on top of his avatar. He was playing Geomancer, and then I was like, okay, well I need to get away from his Geomancer, but I'm not going to have time, and I'm at death's door, and I don't have enough development time to like give myself an escape route. But then I'm looking at this second shrink in my hand, and I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shrink your avatar until my next turn, to give me a time walk, to literally time walk away an additional square. That way you can't attack me. Now, I still lost that game, but like within a single game, I used shrink in two different ways that I don't even know if the designers were doing like for the intent of it anyway, right? Like I think they were thinking like, oh yeah, you shrink your opponent,
shrink your own guy,
minion, and then attack the minion, take no damage, and kill their thing. And so it's like a removal spell plus, way to deal some additional combat damage or whatever. And then I used it to shrink my opponent's avatar to not die. I used it to shrink to get through normal hollows to get closer to their avatar to begin with. And I'm like, this game is so deep. And it was so that vast, moment that I recognized what I appreciate about the design of this game is with all of the new cards in Power Creep and Magic, a lot of the cards do all of the things for you. Like, you don't need to be there. The card just operates. It's not asking anything of you. You just play it, and it just gives you value passively. Like, what do I need to do with this One Ring? It doesn't matter. It's just drawing you cards. What do I need to do with this Tameo? It's just going to draw you cards. What do I do with this Bowmaster? It just sits there and prevents your opponent from being able to do anything. What do I, like, all of the, like, what does the Urza Saga do? You just tap it, and it makes a construct.
Yeah,
and then you
army in a can, as it were. Yeah.
Like, you just don't, like, I feel like the value of the player being at the table doesn't matter as much because the cards, a lot of the times, will just play themselves. Whereas in all of the cards and designs in Sorcery so far, I read a design and it goes, how can I make this work? It's like this card is cool. It can do a thing. It's telling me it does a cool thing. But I have to think about how do I actually implement that in the game, and then what I choose to do affects how powerful or not powerful that card actually is within the context of whatever game it's involved in. And that is so rich and so deep and makes me go, I have the power to actually make this thing better. How can I do it? And so it's asking all of these questions of me, while also being the payoff being not only is it good enough to work, but it's good enough to make work better than what it seems like the design was intended to, because there's all of these different components that you can do together, and the game develops long enough to let you actually go on that quest. I appreciate that so immensely coming from Legacy, where that has just been an experience that's been lost.
Yeah, I mean, so going more back into the event, it was also really cool to like see a lot of the like sorcery celebrities. Like we got to meet Lord of Itza, Josh. We got to talk with obviously all the folks from Eric's Curiosa that were there. But then seeing folks that we had met at the other at the crossroads that I did, the cornerstone that I did, and then like it seems like there's like a community of people that like are already like kind of like, okay, we gotta start testing together, that sort of thing. Like there's these local groups popping up that are like, okay, like we all play together, like let's like you used to do it, you take your LGS to a Pro Tour qualifier, right? And you'd be like, we're gonna try and win the Pro Tour qualifier as a team, that kind of thing. And it was just really cool to see like people would like group up and start talking after a round, be like, okay, like here's what I did, what do you think of that? So I don't know, I mean, the obvious through line here was that it was awesome, the vibes were immaculate. And I'm almost bummed that we're going to Eternal Weekend, because the Sorcery Con in Las Vegas is the same weekend. So I guess we have to go to Europe, Phil. So
you gotta go to Italy. It's so sad.
Yeah. But I'm super excited to see what events come out next year. And my local has been doing like a once a month big meetup for the game too, so I'm excited for that. And then I have another local, the one that I'm getting the Dragonlord cards to, that they're going to start supporting the game. Hopefully we can get Eric's Curiosa to get them some like cornerstone support and stuff like that soon. So if you guys are watching Dark Depths Games in South Philly, hook those guys up with a cornerstone so we can keep supporting locally.
Yeah, if you're watching, hit up Game Storia or HexenCo in New York, because I would love to play. But right now, there isn't really much, as far as I'm aware. I have to do a bit more of a deep dive, but there isn't a local scene yet, because the where people can play is just not, it hasn't caught on yet. But I really hope it does, because I know that the community here in my area of New York would absolutely find the depth and gameplay of this thing super rich.
Yeah. Well, with that said, thank you for watching. Hey, were you at Baltimore? If you were, say so below. If you weren't, why couldn't you make it? Type that in the comments below. We'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.